You are born in a courtyard of cracked brick and winter breath, late Ming, under a roof patched with paper. Your mother warms your fingers and says heaven is a lid. Bow well and it will not fall. Your father says little. Silence is the coat men wear when jars echo. At 8, a village boy returns from the capital in silk. Mothers pull sons close. The word they whisper, eunuch. At 9, you already know how to disappear, how to count buns you will not eat, how to dodge a taxman's shadow. When spring flood takes your father, the river keeps his breath and returns only his hat. Grief becomes routine. The knife man arrives on a mule with a smile that shows no teeth. He buys futures the way rich men buy tea, raw, bitter, promising. A blue-glazed bowl waits. Rice wine, cotton, rope, a curved blade that reflects a boy, almost still a child. Pain becomes a bell hung inside your body. It rings for days. You learn to live by a reed. If water flows, you live. On the 7th day, a thin stream, a laugh that is mostly sob. Your mother visits once, leaves dumplings and a folded prayer. The capital is rules-wearing roofs, red walls climb. You enter through a side gate and receive a name small enough to survive. Little Reed. Buckets, coals, latrines. You move like smoke and listen like a thief. Sleep is a mat. By 12, you fold a robe so it lies like water. You learn which stones you may touch and which eaves you must not breathe near. A calligraphy master smells of cedar. The brush is a soldier, he says. Do not let it desert. You copy edicts and become a warehouse for other men's concerns. Bandits in the west, a comet in the east, salt short as patience. Strokes grow steady. Silence inside becomes letters. At 13, you hold a mirror for a princess who throws a chrysanthemum to see if you flinch. You do not. She asks why your voice is gravel. Because it learned to sweep floors. For 3 days, you pour her tea and vanish before steam cools. Lesson 1. Your face is a wall on which others hang their stories. The inner apartments are a country guarded by curtains. Favored ladies smell of gardenia. The Empress Dowager speaks from behind you even when she sits in front. You carry trays, keys, expectations. Hands careful, mind ledgering what paper won't. The Eastern Depot notices minds like yours. A senior eunuch with nails buffed to moonlight invites you to a room lined with lacquer and warnings. Observation, record, petition, correction, he says. Files like coffins, ink like verdict. Walk silent. Ask questions that sound like answers. Know which truths are safe. Training tastes of iron. You memorize handwriting like singers memorize pitch. You follow a man in a crowd and become air. You learn that a confession is a door some will open for warm water and dignity. Your first arrest, a scholar with a ledger. He asks what was taken from you that you must take this from him. You do not sleep. Power perches only on hands that do not tremble. By 17, you carry messages that move money, soldiers, and the emperor's attention. Lychees from the south appear on his table. A general obtains paper rank. A minister acquires iron friends. Your bow earns the emperor's nod. You keep the latter. A new boy with a bamboo flute voice asks how to survive. Wear emptiness like armor, you tell him. Hold your tongue as if it were jade not yet earned. Never drink with men who call you brother. He breaks the rules by autumn and burns his hand. You bring balm anyway. At 19, your handwriting becomes policy. On a river breach memo, you add a line about granaries and transport that lets a province breathe. Vermilion circles your sentence. Your supervisor orders incense. You polish your shoes instead. Grain cannot wait. The palace is a weather machine. Rumor rains at dawn and dries by noon. The emperor is part boy, part god, part clerk. He likes toys the size of pavilions and plans the size of treasuries. You learn to say not yet in the tone of yes, soon. Sometimes it works, sometimes the treasury groans. Factions are rivers that pretend to be roads, robe and sword, brush and coin. You step between stones and keep balance. The depot grows fat, then thin, then sharp. Names become knives. You keep yours folded. For an imperial birthday, lanterns and budgets, a favored consort demands a lake where there is ground. You suggest mirrors and paint. She suggests your transfer somewhere with fewer windows. You arrange a pavilion that pretends to be shore and sleep poorly. When the Empress Dowager falls ill, shade leaves the courtyard. The favored consort leans toward men who write checks with other people's rice. The emperor builds a theater no one dares criticize. The depot sharpens inkstones. One morning a sheet appears in your room, your hand elsewhere. The message is simple, becomes smaller. You report at dawn, bowed deep enough to scrape memory. You confess to nothing you did not do and everything you did. They keep you standing until your legs become belief. Mercy wearing insult. Reassignment to the temple libraries. Perhaps someone remembered a riverbank. The temple smells of paper dust. You catalog sutras, histories, edicts that dreamed of permanence and mostly found moths. You mend spines with thread and patience. Visitors ask for gossip. You hand them indexes instead. You build a quiet map of the empire from titles alone. Years unlatched like gates on soft hinges. Courtiers forget your name loudly, then completely. You become a useful absence. Each spring you buy shoes for porters who never own the stones. Each winter you warm your fingers on your breath and remember the blue glazed bowl. The scar is a tidy line, door closed, window to look through. Your student, the boy who once asked the wrong question, returns with knees that finally understand kneeling. Together you cross-reference holdings and find a lost edict. You teach him to copy without pride, to read margins where power hides, to hide kindness where only heaven can see it. Once, only once, the emperor visits to repair his luck. You are a shadow under eaves. He pauses, frowns at a memory he cannot place, and nods. A polite salute to furniture. Less than imagined, more than deserved, still enough. Your knees pop. Later you laugh. News arrives sidewise. A governor punished for selling the same tax twice. A garrison riding home. The river you helped think about forgetting to drown anyone last autumn. You drink cheap tea and let warmth be triumph. History rarely says thanks aloud. Old friends do not visit. They survive or do not. The bamboo flute boy marries a widow and keeps bees. You send a teapot that pours with a crack, but better than new. The knife man dies in a courtyard where the blue bowl still shines. You attend no funerals and forget no names. At 60, your hands misplace distance. Ink finds your sleeve. The abbot gives you a room that frames a stubborn pine. In certain winds, it sounds like prayer work. You count a different sort of child. The readers you trained, the pages you rescued, the sentences that will outlast breath. They bring chestnuts and questions. Answers stay short. Winter returns with a short temper. Sleep becomes water you enter often. Your student brings a ledger he has copied in your hand so precisely it counts as theft. The library will keep writing. Oil the brushes, forgive the paper's grain, keep the catalogs exact. You turn small wealth into paper for the library and shoes for porters. There will be no sons to burn money at your grave. Only boys who can find a book in the dark and a pine that refuses to be ordinary. You ask for hot water and an open window. The abbot agrees. On the last evening, you think of thresholds, side gate, curtains, the narrow door. Survival is the strangest art. It turns wounds into windows and windows into shareable light. You think of your mother's breath, your father's hat in a river, vermilion circling a sentence, a scholar's question you still carry. When the bell inside you rings again, it is gentler. You set down the cup, arrange your brush, and close your eyes as if to read. Dawn finds your posture steady. The student laughs once, then remembers grief's order. The abbot chants. The pine refuses to be ordinary. They bury you like small necessary things, behind a wall, with a ledger that says librarian and a whisper that says more. Somewhere a clerk records your name among the unremarkable dead. Somewhere a junior official reads a memo about grain and admires the slant of a hand he does not know is yours. Somewhere the river behaves one more season because a line of ink once asked it politely. Your life as a Chinese eunuch was never a banner. It was a ledger balanced with care. Ink, water, reed, breath. You did not lift the sky, but your bow kept it from falling on faces that never learned your shape. In a palace that counted suns as coins, you were a coin with a hole, and still you bought mercy. That is enough. That is art. That is the quiet arithmetic by which you are remembered, even by people who do not know they remember you.